morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Just breathe. It's going to be okay. Life's not supposed to be easy, but it is supposed to flow. When you think about all of our childhoods, right? We all kind of face this thing where you're like, all right, what do you want to do as a kid? And you're like, well, I'm a kid, so okay, my world is my dad, my mom, my friends, my family, or my son, Paw Patrol, whatever, X-Men. And then you start to like pull things out of your future. You're like, all right, so I'm never gonna be Wolverine. One, I don't want to be. His journey was really challenging, right? Adamantium, etc. Nothing wrong with that. Mutant powers, without those, super impossible. But then you start to like think about, okay, well, what else can I become? And people tend to choose the easier path, and that's okay. I'm not knocking that. If you have like a born gift and it's easy for you, then do it. But there is a certain flow to life and a flow to success. And let me talk about that. When you start to do your job, whatever that job may be, sometimes you start getting a rhythm and innovation suddenly comes from just your essence, right? You're like, oh, well, couldn't that just do that? And people are like, oh, I could maybe. And then suddenly you do it and they're like, wow, how did you know? And you're like, I just put two and two together, maybe my subconscious, or I just knew the answer, right? The trick in that is always explaining the math. So letting others be on the journey with you is better than them seeing you as some kind of messiah that has the answers. It's always better to make sure your teams understand your why. But the flow of life is about when you lock into the thing you're supposed to do in life. And that may not be easy. You may be like me, not 6 foot tall, and wanted to have played basketball, and it's going to be a lot of work. But if you have the skill sets and more important, the perseverance, you can be at least good enough to do it to an end, to say, you know what? I did give it my all, and even if I didn't make it, wow, I did great. But when you find what you're supposed to do, and that could take your whole life. There's no reason to rush this. But when you find what you're supposed to do, you start to flow with it. And then other projects kind of come in that same vein, and suddenly everything you start doing kind of is similar, different things for sure, but very similar in the efforts you put forth, which allows you to do a lot with basically the same effort you'd be doing just do the one thing. And that's not easy. It's actually challenging, but it does flow and it's rewarding. So what I'm getting at is, if you're doing something that's really easy and you're happy, that's great. But for a lot of us, sometimes we need more, and that takes you getting out of your comfort zone, trying a bunch of different things all the way to the end until you've reached that point that says, I really can't go any further there. And then you turn that next page, and eventually, you will roll, or maybe you're there now, but you will roll into a world where you start doing the thing you're supposed to do. Life will start to circulate and swirl around you, and then suddenly what you're doing is you're riding through it, not riding on top of it or next to it. It's all about what's happening in your world. It's exciting.